Hi class, this is Professor Smith doing the last problem on the sample test 3, number 21 on chapters 5 and 6. In this example, we have the population size of many animal species rise and fall over time. Suppose that the population size of a certain species can be modeled by the following. P of t equal to 4199 minus 1257 cosine of 2 pi over 7t. In this equation, P of t represents the total population size and t is the time in years, supposing that we start t equal to 0 years. During the first 7 years, when will this population size be 4,700? So we're going to substitute in 4,700 for P of t, because that's the population size, and then solve that expression for t. Now we'll solve for cosine of 2 pi over 7t. First thing we're going to do is isolate the cosine function by subtracting 4199 and then dividing by negative 1257. We observe that the numerator, 4700 minus 4199, that's going to be positive since 4700 is larger than 4199. And then the denominator is negative, so a positive divided by negative, that means that this value is going to be negative. So when we try to find the value of the argument, 2 pi over 7t, I know that the Alex calculator is going to give me an angle in the second quadrant because that's where the cosine is negative, and we also know that's where the inverse cosine function is defined. It'll give you values that are going to be between 0 and pi. Opening up the Alex calculator, we'll type in 4700 minus 4199, and then we're going to divide all of that by negative 1257. Since they say do not round your answers, but don't do any intermediate computation and don't round your answer, I'm not going to try to find the value of that. I'm just going to take the cosine inverse of it. And take the cosine inverse. I notice too that it is in degrees, so I'm going to change that to radians. So when I leave it in radians, it's going to give me a value that's going, I hit the return key and that changes it to degrees and radians. All right. So that gives us 1.98. And if you think about it, remember 1/2 of a revolution is pi. And pi is the same as 3.14, and this is like almost 2. So that's why that's going to be in the second quadrant. 3.14 pi radians is right on the negative x-axis. All right, so we do get a value t. But where else is the cosine negative? It's not only negative in the second quadrant, but it's also negative in the third quadrant. But in order to determine that, I've got to find that reference angle. In other words, I know this 1.98 is in the second quadrant, but if I can find that reference angle by subtracting pi, that'll let me know. I did that backwards, sorry. By subtracting the angle from pi. Then I'm going to get 1.16. That's going to be the reference angle. 1.16 radian, about 1 radian is about 57 degrees. So this is going to be in that first quadrant. So once I know the reference angle, in the past, if I knew the reference angle and I wanted another angle in the third quadrant, I would always take whatever that reference angle was and add it to pi. So I'm going to add pi plus that reference angle. And that's going to give me 4.3024. So let's write down those two values. Setting 2 pi over 7t equal to our two values, the one that the calculator gave us that was in the second quadrant, and then the one that we computed by first finding the reference angle of 1.106. Let me pull that up a little bit. 1.1608, so we found that reference angle and then we added it to pi to get our angle that's going to be in the third quadrant. And now we can solve for t. So it's important to find those two angles before you multiply by the constant. We could add multiples of 2 pi to this value as well, because there might be other numbers that work too. But I think if you add 2 pi to 1.908, I think let's do that. Let's just do a quick check. 2 pi to 1.908. That's going to give us 7.47. And then when we multiply by the reciprocal of 7 over 2 pi, I think it's going to be bigger than that 7-year kind of cutoff that we have here, the first 7 years. And sure enough, we get 8.326, so it's going to be too big. So we'll just go with those two values and then multiply them by 2 pi. So let's undo. All right. So we'll take that first value and multiply it by 7 over 2 pi. When I went back to check, I recognized that I had typed in the wrong value. So it's 1.9808 times 7 over 2 pi, and that gives us 2.206, which rounds to 2.21. And then if we substitute in our other value that was in the third quadrant, that 4.3024, I don't think I can copy that into the Alex calculator. So 4.3024. 4.3024. Multiply that by 7 over 2 pi. Then we have 4.79. All right, so I hope this movie on problem number 21 of sample test 3 on chapters 5 and 6 was helpful.